Hey, record loving friends, Brian here from Tokyo Record Style. The family is still asleep, so I think I will make a little video for you. Last week I hosted our 14th edition of Top 5 Records. I made a little video about it. Top 5 Records is our monthly get together with my DJ pals, Michael Warren and Bemsha, and we count down our top 5 records on various themes. It's a tribute to the Nick Hornby novel and movie of the same name, High Fidelity, where these record store clerks count down their favorite records. And we've hosted our 14th volume of this, which is really fun. And this last episode's theme was the color of music. So we all went back to our corners and took that theme and interpreted it in several different ways, and found albums or artists or songs that reflect the notion of color. So I thought I would recap my top 5 for you. And during the top 5 event, we actually have a DJ section, a music section, and then we have a talk show section, and then we have some more music. And in our talk show session, I don't have a video camera to record us, and but I should do that. But I don't have the bandwidth to get a recorder going. If you're so inclined to help me get a recording situation going on, I need some gear to do that. I've got an Amazon wish list over on tokyo.record.style. Just follow the links to support, and there's an opportunity for you to help support us get a video setup going. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to actually kind of redo my top 5 here on YouTube, and explain to you my top 5 on the theme of the color of music. Now, putting together a top 5 list is a little bit like putting together a mixtape. It's like half the fun of actually, participating in a top 5 event is brainstorming what you're going to put on the tape, brainstorming what you're going to put on the list, and, going through your records and coming up with a concept and then changing and then rearranging. And so sometimes I'm so busy planning the event that I kind of don't do my top 5 until the last minute. And because my day job, I'm putting together presentations all the time. I'm kind of a seasoned veteran for putting together presentations, so it's never really a big deal for me to kind of rally something at the last minute. But the more time I put into it, the more satisfaction I get out of it. But I did have a little cheat this month, and that is Michael, my co-host, and Michael Warren, who's been featured on Tokyo Record Style many times, and who's my Top 5 Records co-host, suggested that I use another photography project as an inspiration for this particular top 5 list. And that other photography project is related to a moniker I use called Zebrio. Now, Zebrio, I've been using it for nearly 2 decades, and nobody really wonders exactly what it is, but it does have a significant meaning to me, which is actually connected to color and, ironically or interestingly, music. Now, I have this, go to brianscottpeterson.com if you're curious about my photography. I don't really keep the page updated very much, but you'll find a series of photographs that are multiple exposures. They're photographs where I took the film roll one time, rewound it, and then pulled the little leader out again, and then put the camera back in and took the photo again. Took the roll again, and they're multiple exposures. And I created this technique where I could offset the film. The individual frames are not sitting right on top of each other. They're actually offset by half a frame, so that you end up with this really, really long panoramic image. And then I kind of decide where one photo starts and one photo ends, and it's kind of becomes this interesting storyline. And I've got a lot of just musings and ideas and thoughts about working that way. I really, really love it. It's got sort of a improvisational, chaotic noise, sort of punkish thing going on that I really, really enjoy doing. And I had this crazy idea one day that if I could what if I could take a roll of black and white film photograph something. Basically, I should say I juxtapose one motif on top of another, and then I sort of conceptualize them that way. Sometimes I'll take, one roll of film at one time, and I'll take another roll of film at the complete other time, or one location and a completely other location, and I'll juxtapose these motifs. And I had this idea that, what if I could shot one motif, one concept, one theory on black and white film, and then rewound the film, and then cast a magic spell on the film and turned it to a roll of color film, and then loaded it back into the camera and photographed it again. And then the second exposure would be color. Wouldn't it be cool if it was that black and white on top of color? Something that came to mind was those old tintype and collodion prints that are black and white photos that are hand colored. I really love those. They're kind of both black and white and color at the same time. I love that notion of being two things at the same time. And I got that kind of from Elvis, actually. I got it from Paul Simon, actually, who got it from Elvis, apparently. But Graceland, which strangely I mentioned on a past video, I read when I was a kid that he had taken South African Ladysmith Black Mambazo, Swahili music, and put a pop sense on top of it. And that was he took two musics and he melded them together, like Elvis took rhythm and blues and blues and gospel and made rock and roll, essentially. And I had mentioned that the Paul Simon record that was spun was $1, and just to prove to make sure I'm telling you the truth here, not telling fibs, there's my $1 record of Graceland. So anyway, I could never, I can't cast a magical spell on a roll of film and turn it from black and white to color, but I thought if you could actually do it in theory, what you would do is you take a roll of film and a black and white roll of film, and then inside a dark room, you'd pull it out of the film canister, and then you take out a roll of color film and you would pull that on, and you put them on top of each other. And then you would cut them with little striations like zebra stripes, and you would move them, and you would each little band of striation you would trade you would swap out a band of color with a band of black and white, with a band of color with a band of black and white, and you would create essentially this striation of color and black and white film together. And then put, a multiple exposure on top of that, tape it all back together, like in the cutting room of making movies, and you'd make this sort of rainbow zebra striped roll of film, which is pretty out there, I admit. But zebra and rainbow were these two ideas that was that solidified that notion of zebra, rainbow, and then I found that Bry's in there too. So Zebrio became sort of a thing that I started thinking about. I've never done it, but someday I might. Anyway, I'm getting off the topic here. So I have run this other Instagram called Zebrio. Go follow @Zebrio. And Zebrio, about 3 or 4 years ago, I saw this yellow skirt on the train platform. This woman was wearing this beautiful, vibrant yellow skirt. It was so yellow. And I took a photo of it with my phone, and I just was thinking of putting a little caption on it, putting it on my Instagram, and it was just beaming off the screen, and I wrote, "Look how it shines for you," which is a reference to Coldplay's song Yellow. So then I went to my office that day, and the floor of my office is this bright yellow, almost like the same color yellow as the skirt, and my sneakers kind of looked funny on it one day, and I took a picture of it. The same day, took a picture of it, put it up. Look how it shines for you. Saw a yellow Ferrari later in the afternoon. Then I saw a yellow Porsche, and that day, for whatever reason, I saw a lot of yellow. So I just started taking photos of yellow, and after I'd taken photos of yellow things for a week, and I'd title them, "Look how it shines for you, look how it shines for you," I thought, well, maybe I should do maybe I should change from yellow to, what would be the next color? Orange. And I was thinking, what would be a clever little orange title? And I thought, I started going through the list here, and now I've made this series of over 100, well over 100 photos, several hundred photos of this color series, where I photograph them, and I use that as the premise for my top 5 records theme. It was my guideline for the Color of Music, which we hosted last week. So what I always make a list for my top 5, and I kind of want to go through it. Now, I don't own all the records, starting with Yellow, the Coldplay song from 2002, which is on their debut album Parachutes. It was one of their, breakthrough songs, and has since become one of the most, obviously most well-known songs and most popular songs. What's funny is that, like, I didn't get the memo on Coldplay. Somehow I completely missed the memo, and I didn't find out about Coldplay until like 10 years after the entire world had heard of them. And I kept going to people and being like, have you heard of this band Coldplay? They're awesome. And at that point, Coldplay had already been sort of, it was sort of a trope that they were like not good. I still think Coldplay's awesome, but I don't know. They went through they're just this sort of derivative U2 who's a derivative of whatever else. And I don't think that at all. But if that's what you think, fine. You can be a snob about Coldplay. I'm not. I openly love Coldplay. And I went and, got all their albums, and then I finally got caught up to date. I was like, wow, these guys are really good. So let's see, what can I say about this? They were in the studio recording this album. They went outside and they saw the stars, and they were totally blown away by it. It was a clear night, and they went back in and they started singing, and Chris Martin famously said that he sang "Look at the stars, look how they shine for." He sung it in this Neil Young voice because he felt like it just evoked the notion of being outside. Looking out at the stars evoked a sense of Neil Young. And the video was, the song they've said is kind of like about devotion. And there was a famous video that was, one single cut. They recorded it in slow motion, and they're in Wales, filming in Dorset. And the entire sequence is one cut and taken in slow motion. And at their concerts, they have big yellow balloons that go off sort of, all throughout the audience. And that's really cool. So if I get clever with my video here, you may see a side by side, and you'll actually see maybe I'll move over here, and so I'll actually have a place to put it. My slide will be here. Okay, so that's Yellow. That's number 1 of my top 5. And I don't have the Yellow records, but I pulled out some two Yellow records just for fun. And there is Prince Buster's fabulous greatest hits. I recently got this at Cocoa Isle Music Market, where we're going to do the next Tokyo Record Style Day, October 8th, so mark your calendars. Killer record. I was asking Kazuki-san at Cocoa Isle to give me like a primer and like rock steady, and he pulled this out and sent me home with this. So this is so good. It's amazing. And then an album that I mentioned yesterday that I didn't get to feature is Adam Green's Friends of Mine. This is one of his best, if not his best album, or my favorite of his albums. Really, really good. Bluebirds on my doorstep. And Jessica, it's got Jessica Simpson on this. It's really killer record. 2 Yellow records that I have. Okay, next color is a Flaming Lips tune. Orange is not in the title, but it's the tune She Don't Use Jelly from 1993, from Transmissions from the Satellite Heart, which I do have, which is a great record. And this was a breakout song for them. This was like on their, I don't remember, 7th or 8th album. And this album, had this song, She Don't Use Jelly. I know a girl, reminds me of Cher. She's always changing the color of her hair. She likes her hair to, she don't use anything. You buy it at the store. She likes her hair to be real orange. She uses tangerines. And she likes her hair to be real orange. So for this series, on the Zebrio series, I wrote, he likes his Porsche to be real orange, and it was a picture of a Porsche. Or she likes her, hair. She likes her hair to be real orange. I found some orange hair. Or he likes his backpack to be real orange, or whatever it was that I photographed that was orange. I used this song as the title. So, yeah, this was just a song that Wayne Coyne thought was funny. I think they got a little surprised that it became so popular. But it was on the Beavis and Butthead show, the video was, and Beavis and Butthead talked about it, which I adored that show. And I rewrote the lyrics for this song, and I made my own version of She Don't Use Jelly, and I'll read you the lyrics real quick. I know a girl who goes on trips and rewrites lyrics for the Flaming Lips. Her name's not Molly, she don't smoke weed, she don't use mushrooms or LSD, she uses gasoline. I know some guys who play in a band, they have a song called I Want to Hold Your Hand. They traveled the world, but not in a car, not in a plane, but they still went far in a yellow submarine. And I know a guy who doesn't play the guitar, can't play the piano, never touched his guitar. He's got some bongos, he's got a kazoo, he's got a few harps, but can't play the blues, but he kills the tambourine. So that was kind of a fun little tribute to them. And I'll also say that I have Clouds Taste Metallic, which is another orange record from the Flaming Lips. My copy happens to be signed by Wayne Coyne. And also, what's really cool is it's on orange wax. So there you go. Orange. Okay. Next up, red, orange. No, it's yellow, orange, red. Okay. So this one's a mouthful, but I kind of went off here, and I did, instead of the color red, I did the last track on Sgt. Pepper's, and I read the news today, oh boy. I sort of took some poetic liberty there. I read the news today, oh boy. So he read the red sneakers today, oh boy. She read what else was there read? She read the train today, oh boy. Or she read the, whatever it was, the red thing that I photographed. In the red series, I used this as the title for each photo. And God, what can be written about? What can I say about Day in the Life that hasn't already been written? It's obviously the last track on Sgt. Pepper. It's Paul and John taking two amazing songs and sort of putting them together. It's considered like possibly the best Beatles song ever. It goes from John section to Paul section to John section to Paul section. And, I read the news today. Oh boy, it was inspired by some newspapers and magazines that they were reading. There was the death of the Guinness beer heiress, Tara Brown. I think she died in a car crash, or he died in a car crash. I'm not sure if it was he or she. And there was this, crazy avant-garde orchestral ending to it, where they hired this giant, I think Paul wanted like an 80-piece or a 90-piece orchestra, but I think he only ended up getting 70 pieces. And George Martin's, he asked them to improvise, the orchestra players to improvise the piece, but they were sort of like, didn't know what to do, didn't know what to make of it. And so George Martin said that he made a score for for everybody to play their pieces. And at the top of the I don't know, I can't read music, the top of the chart, it had their lowest note of each individual instrument. And then at the end of the chart, it had their highest instrument, or at the end of the score. And between the lowest note and the highest note, he just had like one continuous squiggly line. So it was just to say that, like, start with your lowest note and go all the way to your highest note. And I think they weren't really getting the energy of the feeling. And I think I read a story that Paul went to the local like costume shop or something and bought a bunch of silly costume stuff, masks and hats and silly gear, and he had everybody wearing different kind of costumes. You probably seen that in the photos. You know, this was the THX sound that you hear at movie theaters. That comes from the final piano. The final piano of the song has this gong, and that's the E chord. I think it's like, it might be some special E chord, but it's basically an E played on 3 pianos at the same time. I think it was Paul, John, or Paul, George Martin maybe, and I think Mal Evans. I don't know, was Mal a better piano player than Ringo or George or John maybe, I don't know. But that song, that you know, chord is said to be one of the most famous chords in all of music. But it's quite a nutty song. And you know, when that came out, it was the orchestral session was attended by Mick Jagger, Marianne Faithfull, Keith Richards, Brian Jones, Donovan, Patty Boyd, Michael Nesmith of the Monkees. Let's see, the event was meant to be on TV. I think they scrapped the TV idea, and yeah, Gorilla Paws was one of the funny things that they brought from the costume shop. George Martin said, part of me said we were being self-indulgent here, and part of me was saying, this is bloody marvelous. Yes, and then David Crosby said, I was a dish rag. I was totally floored. It took me several minutes to be able to talk after that. Yeah, oh, and then finally, on the run-out groove, the high-pitched run-out groove is a high-frequency 15 kilohertz tone that is randomly spliced studio chatter. The tone is the same pitch as a dog whistle. So they thought this was really funny, that they would put on this dog whistle tone at the end of the Sgt. Pepper's that nobody would hear except for dogs. So anyway, that's quite funny. So I read the news today. Oh boy, there's my read from Sgt. Pepper's. Okay, next up is Pink. And I went with Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. Again, I went with Flaming Lips. And my copy of Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots happens to be a picture disc. Now, I don't normally buy picture discs. They're famously sound kind of crappy. But I love this artwork, and I wanted to see this, and I've listened to this album 10 million times. So I didn't really feel bad about getting the picture disc version of this. And these are drawings by, I believe, Wayne Coyne himself. And let me tell you a little bit about, so Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. In the Zebrio series, it was like, you know, such and such battles the pink, you know, snowmobiles, or what I remember there was like a snow thing up in the mountains, and so Brian, it was Zebrio Battles the Pink Buses, or Zebrio battles the Pink Lamborghinis, or whatever it was that I saw. Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots was off the 2012 album, or it was an album from 2012. Yoshimi is from the Boredoms. The actual Yoshimi she's Japanese. She's from the Boredoms. And Peiwei, I'm not really sure what her name was, but Peiwei, and they were friends. You know, the Flaming Lips have a big following here in Japan, and this was turned into I thought that she was actually sick and that she was battling cancer, and this was like a song about her battling her personified sickness as pink robots. But I read that this became a play, a Broadway play or off-Broadway play, and the notion that she was battling cancer was just a artistic license for somebody to write this about the story. But I don't know if she was actually sick with cancer. This was famously da, 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 da. One of these songs, is it Flight Test, is the one that is very similar to Yusuf Islam, Cat Stevens' song, Father and Son, and I think they had to have a little litigation, but I read that it was very amicable, and that made me really happy that there was some. I think Coyne said that he didn't realize that the song sounded like Father and Son, but that they settled it amicably afterwards. So Pink, and then I'm moving on to Purple. Now, Purple, that's no surprise here. I went with Prince's Purple Rain. So in my Zebrio series, if I am actually putting images here, I might not be, because it might just be too much of a pain in the ass. You know, Purple Rain, Purple Rain. I just went two purples. So Purple Motorcycle, Purple Motorcycle. The title of the series was just two purples, very simple. And this was another one that, God, I can't, there's too much to say about Purple Rain, but this is on the 6th studio album. This was the first album that Prince was not just Prince, but Prince and the Revolution. And it was the soundtrack to, of course, the film of the same name from 1984. It's, you know, multiple layers of guitars, keyboards, synth. You know this record. I don't need to tell you anything about this record. Darling Nikki. The song "Darling Nikki," you know, he in the movie. I've seen it a bunch of times. I kind of forget. It's not a great movie. It's a good movie. It's pretty good. It's not great. I never remember how the story goes, but he's in love with somebody. The kid, I think, is the character's name. Like, he doesn't actually have a name, and Prince plays the lead, and he's like fighting over the girl against the rival band or whatever. And there was a song about, like, there's a reference to, like, I'm not sure what it is. There's a reference to masturbation, I think. And that was the thing that made the PMRC go into effect. The Parent Music Resource Center, which was led by Tipper Gore, which were those big, you know, congressional hearings about the stickers, parental advisory on the stickers, that famously was attended by some of my heroes. Frank Zappa, you know, testified for, you know, being down with the PMRC and down with, you know, censoring records. John Denver was an interesting voice that was part of that series. And Dee Snider of Twisted Sister famously came on stage, and he had this, you know, came to the congressional hearing with his big hair and his, you know, Twisted Sister outfit. And he spoke so eloquently to this panel, to Al Gore, who was a senator at the time. And he famously gets asked by one of the senators, maybe Gore himself, you know, Tipper Gore had said all this really incendiary stuff about Twisted Sister, and they said that it was about sadomasochism references and suicide and all this stuff. And and Dee Snider famously said to Al Gore, the only sadomasochism that's evident is inside the mind of Tipper Gore and not in my record, which is really funny. So yeah, this was the album that sort of started all that. And Prince, this is really cool. Purple. So Purple Rain, like, they were trying to figure out where that came from, and Purple Rain is referenced in another country western song written by Gary Beckley, who said, I have no idea why I wrote the comment Purple Rain. But what Prince said is when there's blood in the sky, red and blue equals purple. Purple rain pertains to the end of the world and being with the one you love and letting your faith or God guide you through the purple rain. Okay, Prince. Cool. Let's see here. It was originally written for Stevie Nicks, who was too terrified to do it. She kind of just like couldn't do it. And Kurt Loder, the famous, you know, rock journalist who I grew up with on MTV, really commended Prince on straddling sort of black and white styles of music, much like Jimi Hendrix. Purple Rain, Prince's Purple Rain. I also pulled out the Pixies, the Purple Tape. I love the Pixies, and this was like one of those. The Purple Tape was famously like one of their first demos that got. It's like one of their precursors to Come On Pilgrim or something, and it got lost in somewhere, and then they brought it back, the Purple Tape. So I pulled that out from the stack. And I've just started Blue, so I'm in Blue right now, and right now is I've got Kind of Blue. I'm using Miles Davis's Kind of Blue as the title for the next series. So I won't go into Kind of Blue so much, but I'll just mention that it's from 1959. It's with Coltrane, Cannonball Adderley, Bill Evans, Jimmy Cobb, and Paul Chambers. And improvisation on Kind of Blue was said to influence so much improvisational music, including the Allmans, Pink Floyd. Some of Dark Side of the Moon is like credited to, you know, improvisation that was heard on Miles's Kind of Blue. And I really, and Quincy Jones said that my Kind of Blue is his orange juice. And, you know, he drinks it every day, listens to the album every day. And, but I really loved what pianist Chick Corea said. It's one thing to play a tune or play a program of music. It's another thing to practically create a new language of music, which is what Kind of Blue did. Kind of Blue is, you know, kind of famously one of the, you know, the best jazz record, the most accessible jazz record ever made. I actually don't have a copy. It's not my sort of go-to Miles record, but I pulled out Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue just because I didn't have this one. So yeah, this is great. This is I should do a deep dive on this. It's like drunken kung fu song. I don't know how to explain it, but it's got this silliness about it, and it was sort of like a joke that became, you know, one of the most beloved songs in history. You've heard this. If you don't know Rhapsody in Blue, you've heard it, but you just don't know that you've heard it. And then next after Blue will be Green. I've got Robert Palmer's Sneakin' Sally Through the Alley. I've got Pet Sounds, which I've been listening to a lot lately. And maybe I'll do Black and White. And I've just pulled out the Black Crowes. I think I pulled out a bunch of records from my, you know, that had to do with colors. This one's got my ticket stub in there. My buddy's playing keys for the Black Crowes. What's up, Eric? And this is a cool single that's got She Talks to Angels, which is one of their standout tracks. Look how young the guys are. They just got back together, the Black Crowes. Okay, went longer than I thought I would, but there's my top 5 records on the theme, the color of music. You guys have been gracious in just sitting through this for quite a while. I appreciate it. So that top 5, I think we tend to condense it a little bit more tight, but because it's just me here sitting in my living room, I can go off a little bit longer. But you're all invited to come and be a part of Top 5 Records. I don't have our next one scheduled yet, but I encourage you to go to tokyo.record.style. You'll see a tab for Top 5 Records, and you'll see upcoming events. Lastly, I'll say that the next event that I'm having is Tokyo Record Style Day. I mentioned it. It's October 8th at Coco Isle Music Market in Shibuya. It's a reggae music place. So come and get your reggae on, reggae, rocksteady, and Hawaiian reggae music too. So, and Kazuki-san's really cool. Okay, thank you. Please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. I'm keen to get a conversation going. I've had 3, 4, 5 comments. I want some more. So leave me a comment, and let me congratulate you for sitting through this long video in the comments. So just say that you've been here, done it, did it, and let me thank you for it. Okay, until next time, I'll see you guys at the camera store, at the record store, maybe at the camera store too. Okay, bye.